The unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect truth is seldom met with, even in 100,000 myriad kalpas. Now we can see and hear it. We can remember and accept it. I vow to make the Buddha's truth one with myself. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. So this talk will be about the basics of the law of karma as the Buddha taught it. And throughout this talk, I am including some concepts and teachings from the book, Karma, What It Isn't, Why It Matters, by Trelege Khyabang Rinpoche. Additionally, it contains my own observations and lessons from training with the lens of karma. And I'm actually going to quote from the book of Karma at one point. So karma is action, and our actions have results. The law of cause and effect is also what the law of karma could be called. Our actions and their consequences. Straightforward and simple. Only not. Because it is likened to seeds. In its simplest form, you plant the seeds, you grow, and you get what you planted. But it's complicated like seeds because there are all these conditioning factors. For seeds, there's weather, moisture, sunshine, the quality of the seeds, the quality of the soil, etc. The conditions of our life impact our actions. Excuse me. Additionally, karma can lay dormant in the what's called the alaya vijnana consciousness for many lifetimes, ripening when conditions ripen. We will refer to this hard-to-follow aspect of karma later throughout the talks, but it's important to know that karma has its opportunistic tendencies, and you will see that. Now, on the reading list, I recommended that you read a story out of the Denkaroku, which is the story on page 109. It's the story of Kumarata transmitting the teaching to Shayata. So if you haven't read that story, that's okay, but when you have a reading period, go to it and read it. For those of you who know it, great. This story relates to us, to all of us, and it's one reason why I chose it. Shayata had great wisdom at birth. He came with a sense of practice and knowledge. But he also had his problems, like us. He went to Kumarata and said, I don't understand it. In effect, my parents, they're good people, they follow the Buddha's teaching, and yet all their endeavors come to naught, and they have all this illness and problems. Yet our neighbor, their neighbor, is doing bad all the time, and he's healthy, and all his endeavors work. Why isn't he being punished? Keizan, who wrote the Denkaroku, says to us that these questions are quite common for laity and monastic trainees. In other words, for all of us. We want to understand how it could be. We doubt. And this was Shayata's doubt. He didn't understand karma. So we're not alone. We don't have to understand it. It's actually good to question it. I think it gets missed, but Shayata went to the teacher with his doubts and asked them. Very important. It's okay to not understand. Kumarata says to Shayata, why do you entertain such doubts? the karmic effects of good and bad actions will come to fruition in one of the three temporal phases. Meaning, karma does not necessarily happen in the present moment like we think it should. It can take years, lifetimes, for karma to ripen. So we have to have faith and patience in studying karma. Most important point, faith and patience. And remember, only a Buddha can understand karma completely. We see things in a very skewed way usually. Our minds are scattered, we're not paying attention. And all of that occurs before we pick up a smartphone. And once we pick up a smartphone, multiply that by 1,000. So to see with the lens of karma is to see our own distortions, our own views, our own habit energies, and recognize that we could be wrong. As Keisan writes, before cell phones, seduced by just what is before their eyes, they think that cause and effect does not exist, that vice and good deeds are empty words. Nothing could be more foolish and deluded. So we have to question, but we also have to not dismiss. We have to expand our way of seeing things. And we need to have faith in that the Buddhas and ancestors have a better way of seeing things than we do ourselves. Now I'm going to weave this story throughout this talk. So I'm going to switch and talk about karma. To view things with a karmic lens, notice, for example, that when we refrain from harm and do good, we feel better. Now that seems so simple, but actually we don't notice. We often don't realize, that was good. That nourished my heart when I was kind. If we notice, it helps us to experience the joy and the peace in being kind. And it's important to notice what we are experiencing in the present moment, to be present with it, to watch it for a while. Because one can feel good in the moment with righteous anger. Oh, I was right to tell that person what they were doing wrong. But if you watch for a bit, very soon you start feeling yucky inside. Oh, perhaps that wasn't the best thing to say. Perhaps that wasn't the best thing to do. So it's very important to pay attention to what we think, to what we say or act, and what effect it has on us and on others. And this is what it means to see. This is the beginning of seeing, watching our minds. Understanding karmic consequence involves faith. What Shayata was told by Kumarata is to trust in the Buddha's teaching. The Buddha was a very profound and kind and compassionate and exceptional human being. We need to trust that perhaps he knows more than we do. Be willing to live in the not knowing everything. And what I mean by not knowing is to let go of our view that we know what's right, that we know how things should go, that we know. Not knowing is the opposite. It's, oh, I could be wrong. Oh, I could see this differently. Oh, how could I have acted differently? What might have been better? Just simple questions. You don't have to solve them. It isn't about fixing ourselves. It's about being with. And of course, as the Buddha taught us, we can prove the teaching's true for ourselves, but give it time. Another aspect of karma that I mentioned earlier in the first talk is that karma is not about punishment. This is perhaps one of the most important things. I actually felt that karma was punishment when I first came to Buddhist training. I felt I was being punished for wrong actions. No. We have to take the judgment out of it. I thought, in hindsight, as I was studying karma, well, it's our Judeo-Christian background of a punishing God that caused the view of karma as punishment. However, you look at the East and for example, the Hindus. If you are born as in an untouchable caste, it is because of your bad karma and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, that's punishment. And that's not the Buddha's view of karma. If you read the Dhammapada, I recommended, as you know, Buddhist Legends translated by Burlingame. There's 3 volumes up in the guest house. You can read some of the stories in that. And you can see the punishment thread running through the stories. So I thought about this a lot. Well, why? Why? Well, stories are meant in some ways, they were the original way for a tribe or a group to teach moral behavior so that people didn't do difficult things for the tribe's survival. So bad people should be punished, is quote unquote should. So it may be part of our biological programming that we want to see bad people punished. Think about that though. We have to unlearn that tendency. When we start to feel good that someone's getting punished, just see that, because actually it's not true. I had a situation where someone I loved had a drinking problem and was on the street, living on the street drinking, and homeless. And I didn't know where they were or how they were. I didn't even know whether they had died, which they hadn't. But it was sad and disturbing. And I had a flash of a memory of having cursed someone in another life and who was forcing a bunch of people to leave their homes and saying, oh, may you know what it's like to not have a home. Well, in this life I realized, no, you don't ever want someone to be punished in one sense. You don't want anybody to suffer. If you go to your deepest heart, you don't want others to suffer. And certainly the Buddha did not. Remember, he saw that fruition of the karma of another being. He saw the suffering that came with harmful actions. And it was his deep heart of compassion that he taught this way of training so that we can come to the cessation of suffering. You think about the story from the time of the Buddha of Kisagotami, who came to him holding her dead child, which was, she could not accept that her child had died. He didn't judge her. He didn't say, well, you wanted something that is impermanent and it can't happen. No, he was very kind. And he sent her on a mission, as I hope you know the story, but it's a wonderful story. It's the story of the mustard seed. And it's in that Great Disciples of the Buddha book, which is up in the library too. So he didn't shame her. He didn't judge her. But he also didn't perform miracles and bring the baby back to life. He gave her an assignment. He said, go to a house that has a mustard seed, but it has to be from a house where no one has died. So she rushed off and went from house to house, and everybody had mustard seeds. It was India. It was part of the staple cooking. But every time at the end she would say, oh yeah, and did anybody die in this house? Well, everybody had people who have died. In this life, in our situations, often the death of people is kind of hidden away. But it was in their face. And she got it. She got it that she wasn't alone having the sorrow of death. So I'm going to read you something from What is Karma? It's a little long, so bear with me, but it'll be all right, because it's important. So he says, the Buddha taught that learning about karma and learning about ourselves are much like everything else in that they concern the observation of how things work, inside and out, and in mutual relationship. This is the way to lift the veil of ignorance and come to a real understanding. He also said that we should understand everything to be non-substantial and impermanent, which is frequently interpreted negatively. It is not necessarily meant that way, but rather to encourage paying attention to the nature of phenomena. By really looking at phenomena, we find ourselves with no choice but to recognize their impermanence and non-substantiality, which is a good thing for us to do. And it is inevitable that this reality, that as this is the reality we have, if we see things as we are, then true transformation can take place. And then I'm going to skip to the next paragraph. The less we understand karma, the greater the chance that certain actions will be repeated and that we will fail to learn from our mistakes, and that we will perpetuate our suffering through the enactment of deep-seated habits, the very deep-seated habits that are involved in developing a certain character. Thus we suffer through not paying attention to the cause and effect relationship. We do not comprehend properly what brings us satisfaction in life and allows us to flourish. I think that's a very beautiful way of talking about our habitual energies and our tendency to solidify phenomena. And everything is phenomena, everything. And then we attach to it or we are adverse to it. And then we suffer from the impermanence of things. And yet, if we transform the way we see things, then each moment becomes precious. Each moment becomes an opportunity for us to hold things, to love things, and to let them go, to let go. And it's actually an incredibly beautiful process. My point is that by seeing the Buddha's teaching through the lens of karma, it opens up synergistically with all his foundational teaching. You can go deeper into every part of the Buddha's teaching with the lens of karma. But it's up to us to take it up. One characteristic about karma is that it does not go away. You can hide an action, but done is done. If we do something harmful and no one sees us, it's still there within us. The Buddha taught that we are owners of our karma. There's a verse from a book called Divine Stories which says, quote, "Actions never come to naught, even after hundreds of millions of years. When right conditions gather and the time is right, then they will have their effect on bodied beings," end quote. Now, let's hold this lightly, because we can feel, oh my God, karma is this huge weight. No, it's not. Don't hold it that way. Take it in faith that when something ripens, it's your opportunity to see the effect of what was done, to learn from it. Shayata certainly had this very concept. Instead of wanting things to be different, it's like realizing, oh, well, we're doing good now. That's the important thing. That's developing good roots for now and for the future, rather than, oh, we're doing good now, nothing bad should happen to us. Because that isn't how life is. And that isn't how karma works. It goes much deeper than that. Another saying about karma is that as we sow, so shall we reap. Now, don't take this negative. It's actually compassionate. Because we are Buddha nature, and we long to harmonize with our true nature. So it is important to consider what seeds we're planting. Are we planting dark, bitter fruits or sweet, ripe fruits? Watching your mind creates the awareness of which direction you are heading. Again, we come back to that phrase from the Buddha, if you want to know your past lives, look at your mind in the present. If you want to know your future lives, look at your mind in the present. So we're always, this is so interesting, isn't it? Here you are meditating, you're coming back, oh, you get distracted, you're coming back, oh, you get distracted. Over and over again, you're making that effort to be in the present. And when you start working with karma, you see how being in the present then enables you to let it go and let it flow. So the benefits of meditation is that it opens ourselves up to this very process. We have to trust that it's going on. So we train our minds, and we train our minds not to be judgmental. How do you train your mind not to be judgmental? By seeing when you are and letting it go. You don't have to fix yourself. When I came to the monastery and I was a young novice monk, I was overwhelmed by all my bad habits, all my faults, everything about me. It seemed like they were visible to everybody. I was the worst trainee of the monastery. Well, so what? Somebody has to be the worst trainee. Why not me? But it takes time to go, oh, okay, I can hold this, I can say. So what? I don't need to judge myself. I actually need to love myself in the sense of I encourage and believe in myself. You can see things and you can let them go. They're making you who you are. They made you who you were. You can make yourself different by being with them, by being present to them, witnessing them, and then letting them go. This is how karma, we train with karma. And as you know, we're all training with karma. You see this. Whether you know anything about karma or not, if you're meditating, you're training with karma. Another observation, karma is not linear, yet our minds and language is often linear. So this is part of why we miss the meaning. And I think this is very important because it is in everything. As even that tendency to see things in the past, to see things in the future, it's not straight line, as we know. Our karma is not a straight line. It weaves. It's like a screw, and yet it's also like a helix, and yet it's also weaving and coming, and something from long ago can arise, and I mean really long ago can arise, and something maybe towards the future we see, and we say, oh, we can have realizations wherever and whenever we are in. But it's really important to be wary of our tendency and the tendency of our language to make it linear and in a line and straight, because it's not, and it's not solid, just like phenomena are not solid. This is actually how we start experiencing Buddha nature, because Buddha nature is not judgmental, it is not linear, it is ever present, and actually we know Buddha nature more than what we think. And when we start to detach ourselves from our solid, linear, not fluid way, if we let go of that, if we just see it and say, oh, isn't that interesting, and drop it, things become much more fluid. And we begin to realize that there's a whole lot more going on than what we see. So this dovetails, but I had another observation in training with karma, is that often we miss the point. or at least I do. I've had a number of things where I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? Oh, I see it, I get it. And then after a while I kind of went, oops, I think I just missed the whole point of what was being shown to me. Or sometimes it takes years, and then I'll see something and I'll go, oh, that's what that meant. So why do we miss the point? Well, I think we miss the point because we want it to be simple. We want it to fit into our view of life, and it's not necessarily. It's like looking at the tundra. Well, everything looks the same. And then if you see the tundra, if you're with the tundra, all of a sudden you see the teeming life that is within the very thing you're looking at. So, for me, the antidote has been to be still when I see something arise and to listen. Because is there advice being given to me? And sometimes I will ask questions and say, well, what is the meaning of this? And then I have to just let it go. Because I had a situation where I asked, something came up, and I'll talk about it in another talk, but it came up and it was 10 years before I got the answer. And the answer was really profound, but I might not have been ready for it. So trust that. Trust that. See our habituation. See the response of that. But realize, oh, okay, hold it lightly. It's part of why karma is so complicated, and that's okay. We don't have to know everything. We don't have to work it all out. We can benefit greatly just by seeing and not judging. I just want to put in a little ply for, you can feel superior when you see a fly flying into the window over and over again, trying to get out, and flying into the same window and say, oh, isn't that fly stupid? Well, that's us. We're flying into the same situation over and over again and thinking that if we do the same thing, it'll be different. And it's not. So let us just see. Let us connect with all of ourselves. Let us help the fly. It doesn't mean you can't catch it and put it outside so it can be free. And do that with yourself. Okay, so the Buddha used karma to teach, as a teaching to build character. We weren't just born into terrible situations and could do nothing about them. By perceptual behavior and compassion, we could learn to be kind. We could grow good roots, becoming stronger, better beings. Working with karma. As the Buddha would say, we're Brahmins by our, who was Brahmins at that time was the highest caste in India. We're Brahmins by our actions, not by our birth. Angulimala was a mass murderer who lived at the time of the Buddha. And because of the Buddha's working with him, talking to him, he repented. And he bore the karma of his killing by being stoned by people afraid of him. And kept training, kept working with his karma, kept seeing, and he became an arahant. Nothing impedes our training except us. We don't know the outcome of karma. We do not know. That's why it's so important not to judge. You see someone doing harm, and you think, oh, they're going to get their comeuppance. But we don't know. It's very profound. There's a story in the Dhammapada of Shariputra on an alms round, and he came to the house of the state executioner who had killed numerous people. And the state executioner himself was dying. So he offers, but he gets up from his deathbed, he offers a meal to Shariputra. Shariputra offers him a Dharma talk. The man couldn't relax because he was seeing all the harm he had done. So Shariputra said kind words to him, told him just to listen to the Dharma, be present to the Dharma, Don't think about the future. Be present right now. The man did that. And then he died. And he died in great peace. And so the monks often would come and they would say, oh, well, where was that being reborn? And it turned out the man went to heaven. And the monks were very offended. How could this be? This person should have gone to hell for all the killing they did. Karma is not linear. The good can intercede. It doesn't mean the bad does not need cleansing, but it isn't on our time scale. It isn't as we think. And we have to keep our minds open and say, oh, isn't that interesting? When you look at your own mind, you know how hard it is to train. You know how hard it is to meditate. And that teaches you compassion towards others. People do not so skillful things. We can be compassionate to them. It's hard to be able to do something skillfully. Some of us have been training for a really long time and we're still working on it. It's really hard. And the more we trust that we don't have to fix another, all we have to do is be kind and love them. We give them that space that they can be different. We believe in our ability to change. And then we see how interconnected we are with all life. Now, I know this is a long talk, and I apologize. This will be the longest talk, in part because there's lots of fundamentals to karma. So I have one more interesting story to tell you. I hope you found the others interesting. That was an assumption on my part. Forgive me. But I have another story to tell you about a black woman who was an author of the book, Dreaming Me. And she was researching, this is true, she was researching her genealogy at the Mississippi State Records, which is where she came from. And she realized that one of her ancestors was white. So she checked this with the clerk, who was white, and the clerk said, of course he was white. Where do you think you got your intelligence from? She was stunned, horrified, and angry. But she didn't say anything. She just left. She flew home. And then luckily for her, the next day she had a retreat to go to. So she went. And she told one of her lamas. And what he said is something I found enormously helpful. He said, if you recognize something, it means you yourself have done it in the past. Otherwise, you wouldn't recognize it. I have found that to be one of the most helpful pieces of advice, because the suffering we are holding or experiencing is really a compassionate teaching for us, showing us what the action we may have done or another did was like for the other person. Whoa, is that ever helpful? It takes out the victimization of someone's meanness to say, oh, I myself might have done that. Oh, this is what it feels like. I have to be careful how I say things, how I do things. So you see there's this huge karmic component to karma and helping us to recognize how interconnected we all are. Really, what haven't we done? Really, how could it not be that way? You look at history, you see all the terrible things that have gone on, all the myriad moments of pain and suffering. Well, we've been there. We know it. And so karma is our way of getting to move through it and clean it up. So I think I'm going to stop here because we've gone on long enough. And the next talk we will have will be on precepts and karma. And as you most of you probably know, a very fruitful and wonderful discussion. Thank you very much. Homage to all the Buddhas in all worlds. Homage to all the Bodhisattvas in all worlds. Homage to the scripture of great wisdom.